Hi, I'm Julia Bramble from bramblebuzz.co.uk, and you are listening to the Social Media Talks podcast with Alan Hennessy from compassmedia.ie.
Welcome to Social Media Talks podcasts, brought to you by compassmedia.ie.
Hello and thank you for joining me. This is the Social Media Talks podcast, brought to you by compassmedia.ie. I'm your host, Alan Hennessy, and this is the podcast to help business owners who want to learn more about social media marketing. And if you'd like to listen to any of our previous podcasts, you can log on to our website at www.compassmedia.ie/resources/podcasts. And we're looking forward to today's show. We are going to be joined by Julia Bramble from bramblebuzz.co.uk. And Julia is a trained scientist who used to work in forensic science. And you may ask yourself, what has a career developing cutting-edge technology for forensic science have in common with digital marketing? As Julia says, it's all about taking the best of the new tech and converting it into simple, repeatable processes that give results. And that's exactly what she does with her work. She empowers small business owners to confidently attract their ideal customers online. Her philosophy is social chemistry, and it's based on selling through connections and focusing on the human behind the digital. She shares her knowledge and experience through training, mentoring, and also speaking. She has presented to audiences as diverse as magicians, magazine publishers, universities, equine vets, as well as being a regular speaker and a keynote speaker at events including the Social Day and also Social Media Summit Dublin. She has also been delighted to be featured in the national media and has won awards for her work. Julia is a regular contributor to the world's leading social media blog, Social Media Examiner. She is also an expert in Facebook advertising for small businesses, and today we are going to be speaking to Julia all about Facebook advertising. So without further ado, I think we will transition straight over to the interview with Julia. Hi Julia, how are you today? Thanks for joining us today on the Social Media Talks podcast. It's great to have you on. How are you today?
Oh, hi Alan. Thank you so much for inviting me on. Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. Very busy, but a great week. Thank you.
Excellent stuff. We're here obviously to talk about, we're going to be talking about Facebook advertising, and we might even touch on one or two of the breaking news that happened over the last few weeks with Facebook. But you might, just for anyone who doesn't know you, and just to give them a little background on yourself. But I find this hard to believe that nobody knows Julia Bramble at this stage of the game. So, but if you'd like to give us a little bit of a background on yourself.
Sure. Well, even if you do know me, you might not know that actually I'm a trained scientist and I used to work in forensic science. So, and one of my roles there was to train people who went to report in court on actually some of the really new tech procedures that we were bringing in. So a lot of what the skills that I used there, I actually bring today to what I help small businesses do with social media. So they take that new techie stuff and actually turn it into something that they can understand and they can use every day. I've got 6 children and I live in Devon, so that's a little bit more about me. And for over 7 years now, I've been helping small business owners actually market successfully online using social media. As you say, I specialise in Facebook. I write regularly for Social Media Examiner and I talk. I've been talking at a number of events recently. And also for 4 years, while I was also doing the social media and building up my social media business, I worked as a small business growth advisor for a business membership organisation here in the UK. So I was living, eating and breathing small businesses and all the issues to do with small businesses for the space of that 4 years. So I'm in small business land, well and truly.
Well, indeed, yeah. And then what a beautiful part of the country as well as Devon. I love it. we visited a couple of years back, and it was absolutely stunning. And that's all I can say
You'll
about it.
You'll have to come back. You must come back.
Oh, we definitely will. We definitely will. Now I have an invite, I will, definitely.
Yeah.
So today, really, we're here to talk about Facebook advertising. And I know from talking to a lot of people, and there's a big, I suppose, worry of how to do Facebook advertising. And, am I spending the money? Or am I spending it correctly? Or am I, wasting money? Or it doesn't work for me? So we might touch on where really people should start if they are getting into this Facebook advertising.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you are right that people that I meet, if they're not doing Facebook ads or if they're not working successfully for them, are either stuck in this place of overwhelm and not really knowing where to start, or they've tried them and had their fingers burnt and ended up spending some money and not getting any results. And I think one of the big problems out there is the fact that a lot of the free information out there, the blogs and the YouTube videos and all that sort of stuff, is based on information that's been handed down from the people who started using Facebook ads in the first place, which were generally the big internet marketers. And of course, they've got very different setup actually from what your average small business owner's got. So the information that's out there is very often not relevant, and it will talk about things like funnels and pixels and conversions and having huge budgets and huge teams. And so it's not surprising that small business owners are really kind of going around in circles or not knowing where to go with this all. So what we really need to do is distill down, if you like, the key things that small business owners really need to look out for. And you've already touched on this, the idea of the changes that Mark Zuckerberg has just announced with Facebook. And I think for anyone who wants to start with Facebook ads now, who's not used them already, it's worth just taking into account, I think, that the context of Facebook ads is going to change even more than it has done already. So we already know that with Facebook ads, if you go out there and you try and sell stuff to an audience that's never met you before, unless you're selling something that is just an impulse buy, or it's something that people know very well, or they already know you offline, you're going to really struggle. And that's the number one mistake I see small business owners making with Facebook ads. They think they're a silver bullet. They think that somehow, because their offer is put into a Facebook ad, that people will just buy it. And of course, we know that human psychology doesn't change just because they see something in a Facebook ad. So people get very disappointed. They create masses of ads and they've got a big budget and they think, yeah, I'm just going to sell my course, or I'm just going to try and sell tickets to my event to people who've never met them before. And then they wonder why actually that approach doesn't work. Whereas what we need to do with Facebook ads is, of course, the same thing that we need to do with selling anything else in any other form. And that is to encourage people to get to know us, like us and trust us and build those relationships with us. So that's the number one thing that we really need to get clear of. And if you don't know whether people are going to buy something from you from a Facebook ad, then think about it this way. Think about if the content that you were going to put in your Facebook ad, if you printed that on a flyer, right, and put it in front of people's faces in the audience that you actually want to target with your ad, would they buy it from a flyer?
Yeah.
And if they wouldn't buy it from a flyer, they're not going to buy it from your ad.
Yeah, and I think
so that's the number one thing to think about.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point, because I know especially when we're doing the training, what we always do is we always try and relate it to real life, and that is that's the perfect example, because really that's the big thing with, I suppose, social media is people take on this whole different personality when they go on social media, whereas if it's actually just if you start actually looking at it and breaking it down, it's very, very simple. It's quite effective, because if you're in small business, you know what it is that you're actually doing. You're selling, or you're trying to promote. If someone walks into your shop, you don't just start badgering them with a load of stuff. You actually talk to them and you understand what they're looking for. So similar to that, as you say, I can see your point in what you're saying, and I think that's a very, very good analogy of using would you use it on a flyer? So yeah, I think it's very good. And I think this is what the problem is as you said there, with regards to all these big marketing agencies that are doing this Facebook advertising. They have teams of 20 and 30 people that are actually looking at algorithms, and they're looking at funnels, and they're looking at the different personas and all that. And a small business really doesn't have that time, or doesn't have that energy or that money to put behind that. So they have to be very, I suppose, focused on exactly what it is that they're actually doing. So with regard to that, I see the whole point of understanding what your market is, and then starting to understand and talk to them before you actually go and you create your advertising.
Absolutely. And small business owners can actually really win out here actually against the big brands, because we don't have to pass things through compliance generally or get agreement. We can just go out there and create an image or create a video and actually put it out on Facebook ads if we want to the very same day. We can talk about things directly related to our customers because we're the ones that are actually dealing with them day in and day out. So we have got an advantage there when it comes to building relationships, using social media and using Facebook ads specifically. And you've hit the nail on the head there when we're talking about small business owners and the way we use Facebook ads. Don't think that you've got to have complex funnels. Don't think that you've got to test every single little piece of your Facebook ad, because actually your time and your money is going to be much better spent actually probably doing something else in your business or creating a great piece of content. What we need to do with our Facebook ads is really get out there and introduce ourselves to our audience before we ask for the sale. And one of the very best ways of doing that actually is to share something that they're going to find useful, a little tip or a hint or a piece of advice that's going to help them solve the problem that that our products or services help with, or some associated problem, or that engages them in some other way. That's going to be a great introduction to us. And what Facebook ads, of course, allow us to do, which is absolutely amazing now, is they allow us to come back and talk again to those people who've actually responded to those first messages that we've put out by what they call retargeting. So we've actually got a simple way now actually of going out there and introducing ourselves, say with 2 or 3 different messages that we might share, say 1 a week on Facebook ads, and then coming back and talking to those people that have shown an interest in us and encouraging them to take the next step with us, which might be to book a call, that might be to come into our shop, that might be to go to our website, whatever else. So Facebook are actually making it quite easy for us now to do that relationship building kind of thing. And I absolutely think that that is the kind of approach that Mark Zuckerberg is going to want us to take now with our ads, with his new approach to small business use of Facebook as well. He's going to be reducing the number of ads, I'm sure, that are seen that are just sales ads or spammy ads from, I hate to say it, the internet marketers trying to get us to buy their next program. He wants people to focus on relationship building. So if we can get into that habit now, then it's going to serve us really well further down the line.
Yeah, and I think that's a key point as well. It is about relationship building, it's about engagement, and it's about that, that's, as we've spoke off air, and I've spoke to a lot of businesses, and I'm sure you have as well, is that people are panicking and saying, oh my God, I'm going to lose everything. My whole business is based on Facebook. And I'm saying, no, it's not going to really change that much. There is going to be certain changes. You mightn't be seen by as many in the news feed, but at the same token, if you're putting out good content and if you're putting out that information that's engaging, and your followers or your people that like your page are actually engaging and talking to you about it's to your advantage. So it's just I think it's just a shift, as opposed to a big bowl like a ruler being slapped on your hand and saying, no, you can't do that anymore, because I think that's the way it is. And I think with the same with the Facebook advertising as well, that we have to rethink what it is and what way we actually approach our Facebook advertising.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think they're like, with regards to advertising, and especially with the Facebook, because there's so many different types, whether you want to build brand awareness or whether you want to promote your website or whatever. So you might speak on that. Where should really people start if they're only they're dipping their toe, I suppose, into the water? Where would be the best place?
If you're dipping your toe in the water, right, one of the very best things that you can do, I think, is for most small businesses, if we could increase the number of people that knew we even existed, that would be a really, really good starting point, wouldn't it? For most of us, regardless of whether we've got the latest all singing, all dancing website or whatever else. If we could get more eyeballs on our business, whether we're a local business or just a small business, and getting more eyeballs, more people to know about who we are and what we do, that would be a really, really great start. And for a lot of people, that's actually all they need. So we can use Facebook ads very easily to approach that and to get that working for us, either by running a Facebook ad that goes out to people with the objective of reach behind it, or, and this is my absolute and personal favorite, by using Facebook ads that are based on video.
Yeah.
So when we go into Facebook and we set up an ad in the first place in Ads Manager, and I would suggest using Ads Manager, because Facebook have actually come out and said that you won't get as good results from your Facebook ads if you only boost post. They've actually said that they give better results if you use the Ads Manager. But when you first go in, you do need to choose what the objective for your ads is. And there Facebook is trying to help you. So they're trying to get you to think about what goal it is you actually want to solve with you want to reach with your ad. So it's worth actually being honest there, because what they do is they will actually find the people who are most likely to take the action that you're asking for and show your ad to those people first of all. So if it is that you just want to reach everybody within that audience, choose reach. If it is that you want people to respond to your event, choose that. If it is that you want people to click through to your website, choose that. But my all-time favorite is video views. And one of the reasons is that it's the absolute cheapest form of Facebook ad that you can run. You will probably pay about a penny or 2p to get your message seen by exactly the right people for you.
Yeah, and that's it. And of course, then the other side of that is if you do have success with that, you know, you just keep doing it and you keep changing, you know, and building it up like that. Because like a lot of people, like I've often spoke to people and say, oh, I spent €100 on an ad and I didn't get any return on it. And I go, well, why would you spend €100 straight out of the bat and straight out the door on €100? Surely you test it and see how it works and then start building it up.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely. And with something like a video ad, you can spend, I don't know, say €10 a week and still be reaching hundreds of the right people for you.
Yeah.
And you can, as you've said, with having such a low budget there, it's going to guarantee that you are seen in the newsfeed, regardless of this new change from Facebook. It's going to guarantee that you're seen in the newsfeed. But also, if you're spending a very low budget like that, it allows you to have this always on approach. So instead of thinking about Facebook ads as being this one-off campaign, you've absolutely got to get right and you've got to get perfect because your whole business is sort of staked on the result of this Facebook ad. Actually, you can take the pressure off yourself and use Facebook ads as a regular way to get out into the newsfeed. So it might be to share a hint or a tip, as we've talked about. It might be to show behind the scenes of your business. It might be to introduce a member of staff and tell their story. So you can start to think about Facebook ads as very much an extension of the way that you might approach using Facebook organically, and really to get out there and get your business in front of masses of people that never otherwise would have heard of you. And for a lot of small businesses, just doing that is really going to get the ball rolling. But obviously we can then think about going back and retargeting or talking to the people who have actually watched some of those initial videos, and that's where the magic really starts to come to life with Facebook ads.
Yeah, and it's very good. And I like I'm intrigued there when you were talking there about, you know, the difference between boosting an ad or boosting your post and then doing actual advertising, because I know a lot of people will say, you know, oh yeah, well I boosted that for €10 and I got whatever it was, 2,000 people to look at it. So what you're actually saying is it's better actually to go and do an ad. But a lot of people then say to me, and they go, oh well, and then I don't see it, and I say, well, hold on, if you're a man and you're selling, you know, your product is selling tights, is that ad going to be put in front of you? No, it's not, because you're not wearing tights. You know what I mean? So they sort of go, oh well, I want to see, and I go, well, why would you want to see if that's not the, you know, and I think it's only when through education and through letting people understand that you know, that happens. And I think I think the video advertising, because as well as that, you've also made that content already. You may have even done your Facebook Live, and then you say, right, I'm going to target that. I think that's, you know, so you're half the job, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you have done something like a Facebook Live, you know, you might find that actually your audience doesn't want to watch the entire length of that video, but there might be 2 or 3 snippets that you could very easily edit out just with editing software that sits on your laptop, and you could run that as a 2-minute video, put a budget of say €10 behind it for the week, and start to really, really get some traction out there. Because once people start to see regular video content or other content from you in the news feed, and not just sales messages, they're actually going to start warming to you. Once they start warming to you, they're going to start making inquiries or ringing you up or coming into your shop without you actually having to even ask in a lot of instances, because they're going to start to see you as this go-to expert. And the other side to all this is, of course, we know, don't we, that video, because there are things moving in the newsfeed, is a great way of attracting attention in the first place, whereas Facebook ads that are using static images are actually sort of vying for attention. But also video is a great way to build relationships, because you're seeing people in 3D, you're seeing their personalities shine through, which of course is very difficult to actually do with a static image and a bit of text.
And that's very true. That's very true. Is there a cat in the house or something?
There is. The cat has just decided to land on my knee. I'm really sorry. She did this. I went live last Friday to talk about Zuckerberg's announcements, and honestly, she just jumped on me from a great height then and knocked everything flying. So we're lucky that she didn't do that this time.
So we've now got 3 guests in the studio. That's brilliant.
Yes, we're joined by the cat.
Brilliant. Yeah, and I think, like we looking at the advertising, and when you go onto, as you say, your advertising platform, it can be quite daunting to see. But I think it's
yes.
If you take your time and you stand back from it and you just say, okay, well, as you said, what is it that I want to achieve? And you can very quickly, and I think when you start looking at it, you can start to say, all right, well, I want to, brand visibility, or I want to reach a certain audience, or I want engagement, and pick that and actually read through it. And there is a lot of help guides out there that Facebook have put up to show you as well what it is that you can actually do with these particular ad sets.
Yeah, absolutely. They are actually giving a lot more advice than they ever gave before. I think people get overwhelmed because they come in and they get asked that initial question, what do you want to achieve with your ads? So if you have that clear in your head before you actually go and use the ads manager, then you don't have to worry about that. And if it's something like video and you want people to watch your video, then it's very simple. You choose video views. So for a lot of people I'm working with at the moment, we're just focusing on doing that, because then it takes away all those choices. And it's when we have too much choice quite often, isn't it, that we get overwhelmed. If you've already thought about the people that you want to target and the way you're most likely to find them on Facebook, then again, you're not going to get waylaid by having to try and sort of root through and find the people for you. If you've already thought about these things, it makes the process so much easier. But yeah, Facebook have got a lot better at actually walking you through, for example, how to set up a particular type of ad, or what the image sizes are, or just what some of the terms mean. The problem is that their platform isn't really very intuitive, and lots of the words that they use aren't words that we would come across in any other place than Facebook. But very often you can just hover over a little button next to the word and it will actually show you what it means.
And that's it. And I'd like to ask you about as well the, like lookalike audiences and that. What's your feeling on your lookalike audiences?
Right. Well, the way that Facebook, if I can take that one step back to explain this, please. The way that Facebook allows us to go back and talk to people who've shown an interest in us, or who have responded to our content, is that they allow us to build what is called a custom audience within their platform, which is very similar to actually building an email list, but you're actually building it inside Facebook. So you can't actually get in there and see the list of names, but what you are doing is you're building a list of people inside Facebook who have responded or engaged with you in some way, shape or form. And one of those lists of people could be, if you choose it to be, people who visited your website, whether they've just visited any page or whether they've visited a particular page. Or we could also build a custom audience from people who are actually from our email list. We can upload our email list and Facebook will cross-match them with people that they've actually got on their Facebook platform. And once again, we can have our whole email list on there, or we can just have specific segments if we want to. We can also build a custom audience from people that have engaged with any content that we've put on our page, which is amazing. So we know that that's people who've actually responded to us. And we can build a custom audience from people who've actually watched videos that we put up there. Another very good reason for using video ads. When we've put these custom audiences into Facebook, then Facebook will allow us to find a whole other group that have got similar interests and demographics to those people that we've loaded up there in the first place, that seed audience. And that is where this idea of a lookalike audience comes from. And they can be hugely powerful as a way to help us find a whole nother audience that we would never otherwise have reached, that Facebook has just gone out and found for us. The only slight thing that we have to think about there is the fact that very often these lookalike audiences are huge by their very nature. So the audience we've asked them to base the lookalike off could be, say, 1,000, and they will come back with a lookalike audience of 400, 500,000. So sometimes we might need to, when we're using a lookalike audience to target, we might just need to put another targeting filter in there as well, just to give it a bit of a sanity check and make sure that we are actually targeting the right sort of people. But they can work really, really well. And again, that's Facebook doing some work for us free of charge. I know Facebook is getting a bit of a rap at the moment, but actually they really do try and help us have success with our ads.
Well, they do, and I agree with you on that. They do help you with your ads, because I know we've done a lot of advertising, obviously, with what we do and whatever.
Yeah.
But like, we have an actual Facebook a sales manager that will actually ring us and say, look, we can help you with this, and what are you trying to achieve? And you get that help. And I think if you spend over a certain amount of money, that they will start engaging with you, which is fair enough, because obviously if you're just spending €5 or £5 or whatever it is, they're not going to be really not interested, but you're not as valuable to them as what a person that is spending maybe €100 or whatever. So they do get in contact with you, and they have good conversations. I got a phone call from one of them back a while, and I ended up becoming quite good friends with them, because they assign a sales manager to you that will help you, and you can ring them. So really it is worth investing even that time as well. But I do agree with you on the custom audiences. We spoke to another, I think it was someone else, I think it was Greg Fry on the podcast here, and we were talking about Facebook advertising. We lightly touched on it, and I was saying to him that I'd heard somewhere that, a good audience is probably around about 5,000 people, whereas you saying that the 400,000 or the 500,000, that, as you say, if you start filtering that down, narrowing even your reach down to a particular area, that you will get a lot of results. And I would personally think around about 4,000 or 5,000 people is a very solid number to have for one ad.
Yeah, absolutely. And for a number of local businesses, that might be the biggest audience that they can reach anyway, because that's the area that they target. So that's absolutely fine. This whole idea of targeting, I think, and finding your audience on Facebook is another area that trips people up or scares people. But again, if you're only investing a small amount of money, if you're running ads such as video ads or engagement ads that are very, very low cost anyway, unlike taking people off to a website, which is going to cost you a relatively larger amount of money, if you're running some of these much more low cost ads, then what you can afford to do is actually run an ad against one audience that you think is going to work for you, and run the same ad against a different audience, and actually go back and compare the results after 3 or 4 days. And very quickly you'll get a really good feel of actually what the filters are on Facebook that work best for you. This is another area where people dive in, and as you said, they'll spend €100 on running an ad. They'll have one ad and they'll put it out there to one audience, and then if they don't get a result, then it's all doom and gloom. However, as you rightly said, if they started off with, say, spending €5 testing that ad on a specific audience, and then testing the same ad on 2 or 3 other audiences, and actually finding which one seems most responsive before they then spend more of their budget, then that's going to save them an awful lot of time and hassle and money in the long run. I've done it myself. I've tested 3 or 4 audiences, and I found that maybe one audience has cost me, I don't know, £2.50 to get a click to a website. I've tested another audience, this is for my own stuff, I've tested another audience, and maybe it's cost me 50p. So, if I'd just gone with that first audience and not bothered testing, I would hardly have got any results at all from the small budget that I had at the time. So it really is worth having a look at these things. Yeah,
and it's such a huge and fascinating subject that you could sit here and we could probably talk about it for, days on end, because there's so much in there. But as you said, the key points would be is start off, look at what you're doing, and when you want to do it, and start off a small budget, and then build from that, because that's the right way, I think. We do it in real life with everything else we do, so why shouldn't we start? Why shouldn't we do the exact same online as well?
But take the pressure off yourself by thinking about Facebook ads being an always on type of thing, and not having to just have this one campaign that's got to work for you or else, and do that initial testing as well. And then I think you'll feel a lot less stressed about the whole idea, because then you can take it at your own pace, and you can take a little bit of time to investigate the different options and find out what they do for you if you want to.
Yeah, and it's very true. If you start off something small, it's like when when people start Facebook and say, oh, I don't know what to do here, or I don't know how to engage. But suddenly, when they start to do it, and it becomes part of what they do as a daily regime that, you can start to see and say, right, okay, now I know how to do that. And it becomes a norm. And I suppose it's similar with Facebook advertising is do it on a regular basis. You don't have to spend the earth, but you still have to, start investing in it. And when you start to get good at it and you start getting proficient at it, you'll be amazed at the results you can get. Like I'm a firm believer in Facebook advertising, more so than than any of the other platforms, because I think of just the capabilities and what it can do and the people that it can reach and the demographic that you want to be in front of. Whereas a lot of the other platforms, they are good, and we're not putting them down just to let anyone know who else is listening. But, you know, we do like them as well. But I think Facebook have really, really focused in on this, and they've really made it so much, a lot more easier than a lot of other platforms have done as well.
That's true. I mean, if you think the Facebook platform is unintuitive, go and look at Twitter or LinkedIn and try running ads over there. I mean, cripes. But yeah, you're absolutely right. The reach on Facebook and, of course, the number of users that Facebook has got means that you are going to be able to find the right people for you on Facebook. And now, as a way to make sure that your content is seen in the newsfeed, I would strongly recommend using Facebook ads. And I know a lot of people are up in arms and they're saying, oh, Zuckerberg is making us pay to play and all this sort of stuff. But Facebook ads give you so much else besides, as we've talked about. If you use Facebook ads, you'll be able to reach people that you would never be able to reach just from your page doing stuff organically. If you use Facebook ads, then you can use this idea of retargeting, and once you've introduced yourself, actually going back and talking to the people who like the stuff that you were talking about, again, that you would never be able to do organically. So you get so much more for the time and the energy that you invest in it. Don't think about the money, think about the time and the energy and the return that you're getting on that.
And true to your point there is, you know, people saying, oh, it's pay to play now and whatever. But, you know, we also got to remember as well, you know, Facebook is a business.
Exactly.
They're a business that are trying to, you know, that are making money. Okay, they might be making serious amounts of money, and we might say, oh, well, they're, you know, they're all, but every company does, you know, that's how you get on, and that's what you do. So, you know, think about this logically as well. They're a business as much as they are a medium or a platform to get your information out on. They're just helping you. And at the end of the day, guys, as well, remember, it is rented space. It's not yours. So, you know, that's the key point. That's the key point to it as much as anything else.
Absolutely.
Julia,
and if Facebook is successful as a business and keeps their audience there, then it helps us to be successful as our businesses
exactly.
as well, doesn't it?
Yeah. So it's a full spectrum. It's a full, you know, it's a circle of life, I suppose, in the sense, you know what I mean? It is, you know, when you look at it that way. Julia, I suppose I was going to say to you, ask what are your top tips? So maybe you might have one or two top tips that you might speak about there before, because I know we're running out of time. As always, I could sit here and speak for hours, and I say that to every guest that comes on the podcast, but it's true. So what would be your top tips for Facebook advertising?
Top tips, I think we've probably largely covered them, but it would be to start off small, to not feel that you've got to have this one campaign out there that brings you these results in. Start off with a small budget. What I would do is I would recommend using the ads manager rather than Boost Post, just because A, you get better results, and B, it allows you to do this stuff like retargeting. But before you use it, go through and have a look at what all the buttons do. Go into the bit where you can actually choose your audience and look at all the different options there are and work out what might be the best audiences for you. Think about what it is that you want to say in your ad and get your image or your video paired. Even write out what you want to say in Word or something like that. Have it all ready to go, because that way you will find that when you come in and you set up the ad, it will be so much less stressful than trying to suddenly think about everything all in one fell swoop. And if one thing goes wrong, then the whole thing has fallen apart for you. Better still, actually, now what you can do is you can create a post on your Facebook page, and you can use that as the basis for your ad. When you go into Ads Manager, it says, do you want to use an existing post or do you want to create a new ad? You can actually use a post that you've already written. So you take all that part of it out of the equation, and then all you've got to do is decide on what audience you want to target and how much you want to spend. And with all the spending options and everything else, don't worry about all the different things that you get to decide between. Just let Facebook go with the default that Facebook suggests, okay? Make it easy on yourself. Facebook knows what they're doing. Start small and let them choose how they divvy up the money for you.
Brilliant stuff. It's an absolute pleasure as always to speak to you. And how can people reach out to you? How can they get in contact with you? So you might give us a little detail on where they can go to.
Absolutely. I'm on Twitter and Instagram as @Julia Bramble, and I love talking over there. On Facebook, I'm also Julia Bramble personally, so do come and find me and give me a friend request. Or I've got my Facebook page over there, which is Julia at Bramble Buzz Social Media. Or email me, ping me an email. I'm very happy to answer your questions. So that's Julia at bramblebuzz.co.uk. So any of those options, come and find me on social and have a chat. It would be lovely.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Julia, as always, a pleasure to talk to you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Much.
And thank you for thank you for taking the time out to come and talk to us today on the Social Media Talks podcast. We'll talk to you soon. Bye bye. So my thanks to Julia for coming on the podcast today. Some fantastic tips and tricks and insights on how to create your Facebook advertising strategies. And for more details on Julia, you can log on to her website at bramblebuzz.co.uk, and you can also find her on Twitter and on Instagram at Julia Bramble, and also her Facebook page, which is at Julia at Bramble Buzz Social Media. And if you like any of our podcasts and you'd like to listen back to some of our recent ones, you can log on to our website at www.compassmedia.ie/resources/podcasts. And all of our podcasts are also available on Mixcloud, Stitcher, Google Play and iTunes. And we will be delighted if you would leave a rating and review on iTunes, as we are always thrilled to receive your feedback on the podcasts as well. You can also subscribe to these Social Media Talks podcasts so you never miss an episode also there. And if you'd like the show notes for this episode or any of our previous podcasts, log on to our website at Compass Media and just look for SM Talks show notes. And if you'd like to be a guest on the podcast, please do get in contact with us. You can email us at smtalks@compassmedia.ie. If you'd like to find out any more about our services that Compass Media provides, from social media marketing training to podcast services, you can also visit our website at compassmedia.ie. I've been Alan Hennessy, and this has been the Social Media Talks podcast, brought to you by compassmedia.ie, and we look forward to talking to you next week. So on the next time, as I always say, be social and have a great week. On the next time, bye-bye.
Social Media Talks podcast is a production from compassmedia.ie.